What does it truly mean to be humble and to serve others? This is a question that lies at the heart of many of life's greatest teachings, and today, we'll be exploring it in depth. Humility and service, two virtues that are intricately intertwined, form the bedrock of Christian teachings. Humility, the act of recognizing our place in the grand scheme of things, and service, the act of selflessly aiding those around us, are not just mere words, but actions that can profoundly change our lives and the lives of others. In this video we'll be journeying through stories from the Bible that exemplify these virtues, stories that resonate with the depth of their message and the power of their implications. We will also be examining how these virtues can be applied to our everyday lives, transforming them in ways we might not have imagined. Join us on this journey as we delve deeper into the essence of humility and service. Humility, a word often spoken, but do we really understand its depth? It's a term that's tossed around a lot, but the true essence of humility is often misunderstood. In the context of Christianity, humility holds a profound significance. The Bible, in its wisdom, provides us with a clear picture of what humility truly means. For instance, in Proverbs 22:4, it is written, "By humility and the fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life." This verse sheds light on the essence of humility. It's not about belittling oneself or thinking less of oneself. Instead, it offers a broader perspective. Humility, in its truest form, is about recognizing our place within the grand scheme of things. It's about understanding that we are part of something far greater than ourselves. Whether that's a community, a family, a team, or even the entire universe, we are but a small piece of the puzzle. Humility teaches us to see beyond our individual selves and to appreciate the interconnectedness of all things. It's about acknowledging that we don't have all the answers, and that's perfectly okay. It's about being open to learning, growing, and acknowledging the value in others. This understanding of humility also ties into the concept of service. When we humble ourselves, we open our hearts to the needs of others. We learn to put others before ourselves, not because we see ourselves as less important, but because we recognize the inherent value in every individual. Humility is not about self-deprecation, it's about self-awareness. It's about knowing your worth but also recognizing the worth of others. It's about understanding that we are all equal in the eyes of God, and therefore should treat each other with the same respect and kindness. Humility is not a sign of weakness, instead it is a testament to an individual's strength and understanding. It embodies the ability to let go of our ego, to accept our limitations, and to embrace our role in the larger picture. It's about being strong enough to admit when we're wrong, and wise enough to learn from our mistakes. In essence, humility is a strength, not a weakness. It is a quality that empowers us to serve others with compassion and love. Service, an act often performed, but do we truly comprehend its significance? What does it mean to serve? Is it merely performing tasks for others, or does it have a deeper meaning? The word service comes from the Old English word service, which means the act of doing work for someone. In its simplest form, service is the act of helping or doing work for someone else. But let's delve deeper into this concept. In Christianity, service holds a profound significance. It's not just about doing something for someone else, it's about recognizing the needs of others and choosing to serve them willingly, out of love and compassion. This perception of service is beautifully encapsulated in the book of Galatians chapter 5 verse 13. "You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh, rather, serve one another humbly in love." Service in this context is not about self-sacrifice or martyrdom. It's not about losing oneself in the process of helping others. Instead, it's about acknowledging the inherent value and dignity of every individual. It's about understanding that we are all interconnected, and when we serve others, we are, in essence, serving ourselves. Service is an act of empathy, a recognition that we are not alone in this world, that we are part of a larger community. When we serve others, we acknowledge their humanity, their needs, their struggles, and we choose to extend a helping hand, not out of obligation, but out of a genuine desire to make their lives a little bit better. So, when we talk about service, we are not just talking about the act of helping. We are talking about a mindset, a way of life. It's about recognizing the needs of others and choosing to address them, not because we have to, but because we want to. Because we understand that their well-being is intrinsically linked to our own. Service is not an obligation, it is a choice that stems from love and compassion. And when we choose to serve, we are not only making a difference in the lives of others, but we are also enriching our own lives in the process. Remember the moment when Jesus knelt to wash his disciples' feet? Let's journey back to that poignant scene captured in John chapter 13. Here, the eve of the Passover feast, the room is filled with tension and uncertainty. The disciples, weary from travel, gather around their teacher, unaware of the profound lesson they are about to learn. Jesus, the one they've come to recognize as the Christ, the Son of God, rises from the table. He removes his outer garments, wraps a towel around his waist, and fills a basin with water. The disciples watch, puzzled as their teacher, their leader, assumes the role of a lowly servant. Then, Jesus begins to wash their feet, one by one. It's a task usually reserved for the lowest of servants, yet, here is Jesus, the Messiah, performing it with such grace and humility. When he comes to Peter, the outspoken disciple protests, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus responds with a wisdom that transcends the room, "You do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand." And true to his words, the disciples would come to understand. For in this act, Jesus was not merely washing away the grime of the day. He was illustrating a profound truth about humility and service. He, the Son of God, did not consider his status something to cling to, but instead, stooped down to serve those he loved. He was setting an example for all of us to follow. As he said in verse 15, "I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you." His actions served as a powerful reminder that greatness in the kingdom of God is not about lording over others, but about serving them, not about being first but about being last. This story, this moment in time, is a powerful reminder that no one is too important to serve others. So let's remember as we navigate through life to follow the example of Jesus, serving others with humility and love. Do you recall the story of the Good Samaritan? Journey with me through the pages of Luke chapter 10 verses 30 to 37. Here we find a man, beaten and left to die on the perilous road from Jerusalem to Jericho. Two men, a priest and a Levite, both respected figures in their society, pass by. They see the man in his distress, but choose to cross the road, avoiding him. Then, a Samaritan happens upon the scene. Now Samaritans and Jews, they didn't mix. They had deep-seated cultural and religious differences. But this Samaritan, he sees the injured man and his heart is moved with compassion. He goes over to the man, dresses his wounds, and then he does more. He puts the man on his own donkey, takes him to an inn and takes care of him. Overnight, the Samaritan looks after the beaten man. The next day he gives the innkeeper 2 denarii, roughly equivalent to 2 days' wages, and tells him, "Take care of him. If you spend more than what I've given, I'll reimburse you when I return." Can you imagine that? The Samaritan not only gave his time and resources, but he also committed to a future obligation for a man he didn't even know. A man who in any other circumstance might have scorned him or treated him with contempt because of his Samaritan heritage. This is true service. It's not about what we stand to gain, or how we might be perceived. It's not about serving only those who are like us or those who can repay us. No, true service is selfless. It's compassionate. It's loving. It's going beyond the call of duty, beyond societal norms and cultural boundaries. The Samaritan in his actions embodied the essence of service. He didn't let cultural differences prevent him from helping a fellow human being in need. His service was unconditional, transcending societal barriers and personal inconvenience. And so, this parable shows us that true service knows no boundaries. So, how do we live out humility and service in our daily lives? Humility and service are not just abstract concepts or lofty ideals, they are practical virtues that we can incorporate into our daily routines. They are about making the conscious choice every day to put others before ourselves, to listen more, to acknowledge others, and to be patient. Let's begin with listening. In our fast-paced world, we often focus on speaking our minds, vying for attention and validation. But the act of listening, truly listening, is an act of humility. It's about setting aside our own thoughts and opinions to genuinely hear and understand someone else's perspective. Each day we can practice this by giving people our full attention during conversations, whether it's a chat with a coworker, a discussion with a family member, or a simple exchange with a store clerk. Acknowledging others is another powerful way to practice humility. It's easy to get caught up in our own world, but acknowledging others means recognizing their value, their feelings, and their contributions. It's about saying thank you to the barista who made your coffee in the morning, appreciating a colleague's hard work, or expressing gratitude for a friend's kindness. Service, too, can be woven into the fabric of our everyday lives. One way to do this is through volunteering. It could be at a local food bank, a community center, or a nursing home. It doesn't have to be grandiose. Even small acts of service can make a big difference. Remember, it's not about recognition or reward, but about making someone else's day a little brighter. Lastly, patience. Patience is a virtue that requires us to slow down, to wait, and to endure without complaint. It's about being patient with the elderly neighbor who needs help with groceries, with the child learning to tie their shoelaces, or even with ourselves as we navigate life's challenges. These are just a few ways we can practice humility and service daily. But remember, the opportunities are endless. Every day presents us with opportunities to be humble and to serve others. So, why does humility and service matter, you may ask? Well, as we've journeyed through this exploration, we've seen that these two virtues, humility and service, are not just lofty ideals. They are practical, actionable elements that can transform our daily lives. Let's take a moment to revisit the key points we've discussed. We started by understanding what humility and service truly mean. Humility isn't about self-degradation, rather it's about acknowledging our limitations and celebrating the strengths of others. Service, on the other hand, isn't about seeking validation, but about genuinely caring for and helping others. We then took a deep dive into the Bible, unearthing the lessons taught by Jesus himself. His act of washing his disciples' feet epitomized humility in the most profound way. He, being the master, became a servant, demonstrating that no role is too lowly when it's about showing love and respect. The parable of the Good Samaritan, meanwhile, beautifully encapsulated the essence of service. It taught us that our neighbor is anyone in need, and that serving them is not just a duty, but a privilege. We also discussed how humility and service play out in everyday life. From simple acts like listening attentively to others, to grand gestures like dedicating one's life to a cause, we see that these virtues are not confined to scriptures. They are alive and thriving in our world today. But what's the real power of humility and service? It's transformational. It has the potential to not only change our individual lives but also our relationships, our communities, and indeed, our world. When we approach others with humility, we create an atmosphere of mutual respect. When we serve, we foster empathy and kindness. Together, humility and service can create a ripple effect of positivity that can touch countless lives. Remember, to be great is to be humble, and to live fully is to serve others willingly. Let these words resonate in your hearts and minds, inspiring you to embrace the transformative power of humility and service.